It's crazy to me how nowadays even simple things or things that were not really looked at super desirably are now quickly becoming luxuries in life. And one of those things that I'm talking about is van life. For anybody that's been online, anybody that's been in the US the past probably 10 years or so, you've heard of van life. It used to be something kind of looked down on, I guess, not really looked down on, but it was mainly for, the younger people who kind of had that Peter Pan syndrome, didn't necessarily want to grow up, go find a career just yet. They would work, save up a bunch of money, and then just go live in a van and travel around for a little while. And then it started to be taken over by nomad people, nomad workers, workers who can work remotely, workers who can work on a laptop, etc. And it became an actual lifestyle. It became an actual trend. And you see that when you look at, when you go to RV parks or when you look online at RV places, and I know this because I've done this personally. Now, what used to be just a hobby, what used to just be a phase in a young person's life, maybe they get a van, they go travel around by themselves or with a friend or girlfriend, etc., and just see the country and take some time to kind of think and just be out in nature and figure out what they wanted to do next with their life. Now it's become a whole trend, and companies are capitalizing off of it. We have certain RV makers that are now making vans, specifically compact RV style vans for those type of people. And they're not cheap. This isn't your old Volkswagen van that you remodeled. There's some of the ones I've seen online, people taking like an ambulance or an old bus and then remodeling it into an RV for $10,000, $20,000. No, that's not this. These are 80, $100,000 vehicles designed specifically for people who live van life. And it makes you wonder, like, how? Like, how is this isn't van life anymore. Van life was about roughing it. Van life was about working with what you had and living on very little. Like somebody that goes out and buys $100,000 RV van is not roughing it. That's not cheap. 100 grand. I mean, I know people that have bought their houses for less than that. Now, nowadays, you're not really going to find a house anywhere unless it's extremely undesirable. You're not going to really be finding a house for less than 100 grand. But 10, 15 years ago, yeah, you definitely could find a house for less than 100 grand. And now people are paying this for vans to just drive around and basically live at truck stops and Walmart parking lots. And now you're starting to see even simple things like van life are becoming luxuries with the advent of being able to work remotely, being able to work from your laptop, be a content creator. Like, how many YouTube channels and content creators are out there simply making a living off of talking about how they survive and make it day to day living in a van? And now you see even things like that. Me personally, somebody I've looked at van life, not necessarily right now, but maybe in the future for something for early retirement as a way to travel and somewhat save expenses. If I, am in a position where maybe I can retire early, go get one of those vans and just travel, see the country, etc., and then eventually come back and chill and do other things. But as someone that's actually looked into that lifestyle and looked at the costs and everything that come with it, I'm not spending $100,000 on an RV. not including gas, maintenance, it's still a vehicle, insurance, and then the cost of just living in general. You know, you still got to pay for all your food, your hygiene products, etc. A lot of those vans, they don't have showers, they don't have great bathroom amenities, so you still have to find a place to shower. You still have to pay for that. Still have to find a place to go to the bathroom. You're living off of fast food and eating out, depending on your cooking situation and what you have at your disposal, etc. And now you're seeing something that used to be a hobby, used to be a passion, used to be just something fun that people maybe do for a summer or a couple years. And now it's becoming a luxury. It's becoming a luxury to be able to do van life. It's becoming a luxury to even be able to, let's break it down even more rudimentally. What is van life? Van life is essentially a long term extended road trip, right? You're traveling around, you're driving to different places, staying in different places, doing different things. It's basically a road trip. And now, even that is becoming a luxury in the modern world. With the cost of, like I said, having a vehicle, the cost of fuel, even the cost, like a lot of people can't even afford to get fuel to drive to and from work. How are they going to be able to afford to fill some van to drive around? You know, I mean, most people, they struggle to take a week or two off from work without stressing about their paycheck when they come back. How are people going to be able to take that much time and go travel? Unless, you have some really good remote job, you're making a decent living, or you're a content creator and you're basically making money off of your lifestyle and then being able to write off all your expenses on your taxes because it's basically a business expense. If you're not one of those people, you're slowly but surely being priced out of van life, of that opportunity, of that lifestyle, of the ability to do that. And the prime demographic, the people that started it, the young people, the teenagers, young adults, the hipster crowd that started this trend, most of them aren't going to be able to afford to do it much longer either. I mean, what? Take take a look at some of the old videos on social media. Just go look up van life and people showing their vans and stuff, and unless they're a content creator specifically, a lot of these people were in their late teens, early 20s. They worked for a couple years, worked a part time job in high school or just out of high school, saved up all their money, went and bought a used, worn vehicle, maybe put 10, 20 grand into it, like I said, to upgrade it and make it livable and more comfortable long term or semi long term. And then they just took their savings and they went out and had fun and explored, maybe did odd jobs here and there to make some extra cash or whatnot. But for the most part, they were living off of their savings. One, now, how many teenagers are even working? You know, Entry level high school part time jobs are slowly becoming a thing of the past. Why? Because the cost to employ them, minimum wage is going up. Nobody wants to pay some part time 16-year-old kid to, $15 to $20 an hour to come in and half ass their work. I mean, when you're in high school, like, you're not really out there invested in your job. I'm sorry. I was a high schooler with a part-time job. I did not care about those jobs. That was fun money. That was extra money. So, one, those a lot of those jobs are slowly disappearing, and the ones that do exist, the Walmart workers, the McDonald's employees, the grocery store employee. Like my first job, I was a bag boy at the local grocery, making minimum wage, which at the time where I am at that time, minimum wage was $7.25. Okay. Let's say even making 15 now. What kind of young person, what kind of teenager or even young adult, even me where I am, I don't have the money to go drop 100 grand or 80 grand or even 50 grand on a vehicle to do van life. I mean, most young people don't even have the money to drive to buy just a used car to get to school and get to work. How are they going to have the money now to go do van life? It's just sad. It's just really sad to see that so many things that a lot of us took for granted or just people really enjoyed that were super simple, low cost things to have fun or take vacations or just hobbies, etc. A lot of those things are slowly becoming luxuries. And they're going to continue to be like that. Companies are going to continue to raise their prices and they're going to continue to price out more and more customers. Why? Because they would much rather sell one or $200,000 RVs to high end customers that can afford them and will pay that price regardless of what it is versus selling five $20,000 RVs to just more people, right? The profits, there's more profits in the higher end luxury, high priced items. And yeah, this is a trend this is just one example. There's countless examples across the board. Even things like nowadays, even having pets is becoming a luxury because the cost of getting the pet, uh, putting a chip in it, taking it to the vet. And then they got pet insurance now, the food, the taking it to daycare or boarding if you go on a trip, etc. That's just another example. But to give you a couple ideas off the top of my head, like small things that we used to take for granted in life, like road trips, pets, etc., going out to a nice dinner. Those things are slowly but surely becoming luxuries that most people in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years are not going to be able to enjoy. They're really not. I took a road trip last summer and I went on a road trip with four of my friends. There are five of us. So we were able to split the expenses for the most part between five people. I probably spent for that week long road trip just myself for everything that we did, all of our activities, food, etc., places we stayed. I probably spent around $1,000 if I had to assume. So let's say between each of us spent somewhere between 500 to $1,000 a piece. We spent probably close, all in all, total expenses for the trip combined. We probably spent 5 grand between all of us. It's a lot easier for five people to break that down to $1,000 a piece versus one person trying to cover all of that. That's just 1 week of time. We weren't gone for a month. We didn't take anything crazy. We didn't do anything. We didn't stay in lavish places, very average places, and did average things, and it still cost us that much. And that's what I'm saying. Like, how many families, how many people now already don't take vacations? Haven't been for years. For years, some people haven't taken trips. Think about what that's going to be in the next 5 years. Even if you have, for example, PTO or you have the time available, do you have the funds available to actually go do what it is that you want to do? And for most people, the answer is no, unless you make it a point to make that happen for yourself. But just something that's been on my mind today, something I've been thinking about. I wanted to make a video about it and put it out there and get other people's opinions on it. What do you think? Are more things in life going to slowly become luxuries? When I'm 50 years old looking back, am I going to be like, oh, I remember when I used to be able to get that or do that, blah, blah, blah. And then now it's inaccessible for 50 to 80% of the population. I don't know. I hope not. I hope not. But from what I see and from everything that's happening, that is definitely the path that we are going down as a society, as a country, as a world, and I hate to see it. But that being said, do what you guys got to do. Save that money. Keep grinding. Keep hustling. Keep working smarter, not harder. And until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Peace.